Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel. It is your girl Gabrielle Ariana. If you are new, welcome, happy to have you. If you're returning, thank you all for locked in with me. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, all the beautiful things. Stay connected with me on social medias. For this video, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on pretty much how I assembled this sweater. How she looks. It's I guess you can call it a granny square strug, granny square bolero, a crop sweater, whichever name you want to give it. For this tutorial, you guys, it's, I would say, beginner intermediate friendly. You are going to want to know the basic stitches of crochet, so you're going to make sure that you know how to single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, what a granny stitch is, how to create a square or a granny square. Essentially, I do show you guys how to start the square for a granny square. But I'm gonna essentially just show you guys how I stitched it together, how I did this ribbing at the bottom and the cuffs and all the things. So without further ado, let's just get right into the video. I'm gonna show you all how to start a granny square. I do the magic ring or magic circle. You take your yarn right here, you're gonna wrap it around and you're going to make an X with the yarn and then pull over, and you just twist it like this, and then you have your working yarn and then your tail right here, and you just kind of want to hold that. So again, this is your ring. You're going to chain 3, and also I'm using a size 7 hook, and you're going to yarn over to do a double crochet. This first one's going to count, so you're going to do 2 more. You're going to do pull through 2, pull through 2, a yarn over, pull through the first 2, pull through the first 2, oopsies, these 2, and then you're going to chain 1. You could chain 1 or 2. Most people chain 2 for their corners. I personally only chain 1. And then you have a granny cluster. You're going to continue that, going back into the ring, pull, and then this time you're doing 3 double crochets. 3 double crochets will equate to the granny cluster. Okay, so far we have 1 cluster, 2 clusters, 3, and we're going to do the 4th cluster, and that's going to get a square. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. Oops. Okay, and you're going to pull your tail, close that out, and you're just going to go through this stitch here and slip stitch through. Hold on. Okay, there we go. And you're going to chain 3, 2, 3, yarn over. So you see, this is our space here. We have a space right here, and then our other space is right here, and then there's this space right here. I'm gonna go into this space and do 2 more double crochets. 1, 2. Okay. So for this second round, we're basically extending out our corners. So in this space, it's going to be slightly different. We're going to go in, do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, Right here, you're going to chain 1. If you want to chain 2, you can chain 2 because this is going to be the space where you're going to be increasing. Personally, I only do 1 chain. I don't do 2 chains, but most people do 2 chains. So that's why I'm saying that. You kind of have the option. Just kind of depends on what you prefer. I personally prefer to just do 1 chain. Go back to that same space and do another cluster. 2, 3. So here we have our corner and we extended it out by doing 2 clusters in that space, and you're going to do that in the next space right here. And for the magic circle, you have this tail yarn on the back. You're just going to want to get a darning needle and feed it through this circle like 3 to 4 times, both ways, and then you can just, you know, cut the yarn off just to make sure your square is secure. I personally never had any issues with the magic circle and then feeding the yarn through to keep it together. So yeah, and then this other corner. So now we're going to close it out, go into the same space that we started in right here and do our 3 double crochets. 2 and 1 more, and that gives us 3, right? And then we're going to chain 1 and then slip stitch at the top of the space right here. Okay, and then you'll start by doing your you're going to start by doing your 3 chains, and you're basically going to repeat that, doing the same thing. If you're switching colors, then you're just going to fasten off, cut, and then you'll just add your next color in the same space, chaining the 3, going into that exact same space, doing the 2 additional double crochets to get your cluster, move on to the next space, and then every corner stitch, again, this is where you're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and then this space will just be 1 cluster. This is a corner. It's your corner spaces where you are making the square bigger. I just wanted to come on here and show you all just how to start the granny square in case you were unaware. But I think this is pretty much it. And how many rounds you do determines based off of the size of your hook, your tension, and also how big you want the sweater to look. If you want it to be more form-fitting, if you want it to be more oversized, it would just kind of determine on how big the sweater is. So next, I'm going to show you all how I connect the squares together. All right, so to put into perspective on how big the squares are, I just wanted to measure it for you all. Ooh, I'm ashy, goodness gracious. Here it is 16 inches. Hold on. Each square is about 16 inches long, and I did a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 rounds of the granny stitch. So I did 14 rounds, and that came out to be 16 inches long using a size 7mm hook. So for yourself, it's going to vary depending on what size hook you use. The bigger the looser the stitches are, and you know, the more rounds, also the bigger the sweater is. So all right, so this is my squares. We have these ones here, and then it's long, so I can't get the whole thing on camera, but I've already marked where I'm going to be crocheting for the bottom. I basically left 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 for my opening. Same for this one. So we're going to be doing single crochet across here. For the top, we're going to be doing all the way until the square. So we're connecting the entire squares. Only at the bottom are we not going to go all the way in, because that's going to be where our waist is. And I just wanted to have more space, more room for when I do my ribbing. We're going to do a single crochet along here, all the way to this point. This is going to be our opening right here. And then we're going to single crochet across here this way, and then of course here. So these on this end will be our armholes, where we're going to work the rounds to extend it out to do our sleeves. I'm going to be doing the top, so you're going to go into the corner you can go all the way through both of these in the corner and just pull your yarn. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go through this little stitch here that's in the corner on both of them. And I already have my slip knot. We're going to put our yarn on here, feed that through, and then tighten that up. I'm just going to pull through to secure it. So now what you're going to do, you can see the different stitches. So like this, it's kind of hard to see. You can see the different stitches. So if you go through this one, you're going to go through both. You're basically going through all of these stitches. You're going through all 4 of them, because it's going to create a stitch. And then what I like to do is just feed in the little tail as I do this, so that way you don't have to weave it in later, and you're just doing a single crochet. For this, I am using, let me get that through. Okay, I'm using a size 5mm hook. For the actual squares, I use a size 7. I'm just using a 5 because I want the stitching to be smaller, or tighter, I should say. I don't want it to be as loose as the, the stitches as I was doing for the squares. So you're just going to keep going through. Next one. And feeding the tail in. So I'm going to continue doing this until we get to this point where the 2 squares meet. You're going to just fasten off, and then that's what you're going to do for each each section to close it out. So again, for myself, I'm doing all the way these 2 squares, and where the stitch meets, I'm going to just stop. For my bottom, I already put my stitch marker. So we're going to be crocheting all the way right here until we get to this point, fasten off. Same for the other side, and I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, so this is how it should look. As you guys can see, it has this single crochet going along it, and this is for the top. So I did it all the way until the very end of this. So this is how it looks. Just like this. And this is going to go into being, again, our armhole. So I'm just going to continue again to do the same thing along here and then on the other sides. And then once we get to our sleeve, I will be back. All right, so I'm going to start working the sleeves. I'm just going to go into this corner space here to feed my yarn through. So we're going to chain 3, and this is going to count as our first double crochet. So I'm going to go back into that same space and do 2 more double crochets to complete my cluster. So for this first row for our sleeves, you're just going to do a cluster of granny stitch in each space. We won't begin our decreases until row 2, and this is my tail, so I'm just going to feed this through here. So again, you're going to yarn over, go into the space, and do 3 double crochets to get your cluster. next space, again, double crochet. So this is how it's looking. So I'm gonna keep going until we get back to this point. All right, so we just have to do one more cluster right here to finish this row off. Okay. And then we're just gonna go through here to slip stitch. So I'm actually going to be switching off colors. So since I'm switching colors, I'm going to be cutting off the yarn. I'm going to start by chaining 3. Again, that's going to count as my first double crochet. I'm going to go into the same space to complete the cluster and do 2 more double crochets. Okay. Yarn over and then go into this next space and do another cluster. It's in this row where we are going to begin doing our decreases. So another double crochet, okay, and then another cluster here. All right. So far we have 1, 2, 3 clusters. All right, so now we're going to do a decrease. So in this first space, you're going to go into the space and do a double crochet. Just 1. You're going to yarn over. In this same space, you're going to go back and start a double crochet. Pull through 2. Now you have 2 on your hook. You're going to yarn over. I'm still feeding in my tail into this next space. You're going to go in there, pull up 1, pull through 2, pull through the last 3. Complete it by going back into this space and just doing another double crochet. And this is how you get a cluster. So if you look, you have 1, 2, 3 double crochets, just like in this cluster here. There's 1, 2, 3. So you do 1 full double crochet. You basically do like part of your double crochet in this space, and then you complete the double crochet in the second space, and then close it out with another double crochet in the next space. So now we're going to do 3 clusters for the next 3 spaces, and then we're going to decrease on that 4th space. So you're going to go into the space. You're just going to do a double crochet, right? Go into that same space. You'll start, pull through these 2. You're going to have 2 on your hook. Go into the next space, pull up. Now you have 4. Pull through these 2. Now you have 3. Pull through all 3. And then 1 more double crochet. And that will complete your cluster. And you see the 3 spaces. All right, so I already did my chain 3, and I'm just gonna go in and again do 2 more double crochets to that space. So for the next 2 rows, I'm not going to decrease. I'm simply just going to do a cluster in each space. You just want to be mindful that you don't end up crocheting in between, like where you decreased at. Because it kind of like has a space where it looks like you can go into it, but you can't. So you just want to make sure you don't add an extra cluster that's not supposed to be there. So it'll be a cluster that I just did here, another one here, here, and then right here, this is where we did our decrease. So we're going to skip this little space that's kind of like right there and go into this one, and just keep doing that all the way around. Of course, you'll connect at the end, and I'm going to do it for 2 more rows. I went ahead and did this color off camera. You guys, I actually made a mistake. So you definitely want to write down where you're decreasing at as you're doing this, just to make sure it is symmetrical on both sides. So as y'all see here, we decreased every 1, 2, 3 on the 4th stitches. So you guys see here, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I decreased. So the sleeves are not symmetrical because I decreased every 5th stitch. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one is where I decreased on the other sleeve that I did off camera. And then for the brown, I went down 1, so I decreased on every 4th stitch. And then for this one, we did every 3rd. So because I messed up on here where you see there's 1, 2, 3, and then I decreased on the 4th, it's like a slightly, you know, small in this area. So I didn't do any decreases with the brown. I just kept it as is, because essentially this would be the number of clusters that you would have after the decreases for the brown on the other side. So now we're kind of like back to our regular programming, I guess. And I'm just going to show you all one more time. I just wanted to come on here and show you guys this on camera just so you guys can see the mistakes that I made, so that you are aware of, like, you know, again, what you're doing when you make yours, and to just keep track of when you're decreasing, especially with the clusters. It's like, you know, it starts to all get together and look the same. So it's like you just want to make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing. I'm doing my chain 3. Again, in that same space, we're going to make 2 additional double crochets. Okay. And then let me just make sure that, because I'm a little scared. So I did 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to do one more cluster just so I could make sure I'm doing this right. And 2 and 3. Okay, and now we're going to start decreasing. So again, you do a double crochet, right? You yarn over, you go back into that same space, pull through the first 2. You have 2 left on your hook. You're going to yarn over, go into the next space, pull through the first 2. Again, you have 3 left on your hook. Pull through all 3. Go into that same space to close it out, and just do a regular double crochet. So boom. So now, making sure I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, I'm going to just continue this pattern where I do 2 clusters and then decrease on that 3rd space until we get to the end of the round. And we're going to start working on, once we finish this round, we're going to start our cuffs and our ribbing. All right, so I did my 4 rows. I only decrease, as y'all can see, every 2, and then for rows, the next 3, I just did the clusters in each space. Before we start our cuff, y'all can see this is pretty wide. We want it to be more squinched in. So I switched hooks. I'm now using a 4.5, and I'm just going to chain 1, go into each stitch. We're going to start decreasing. So I'm just going to do a single crochet here, and to decrease with like regular stitches, you're going to go into the space. Oh, I'm going to do another one first. I'm going to decrease like every 3rd, every 3rd stitch. I feel I'm honestly winging my cuffs. I don't remember what I did on the other cuff, which is why it is important to write down what you are doing, especially when it comes to sleeves, because just so it's symmetrical and everything is like even. So I did 2 single crochets. I'm going to go into this 3rd one. We're going to just pull up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop. You have 3 on your hook. You're going to pull through all 3. And then I'm just going to kind of continue that throughout. 1, 2, I'm pretty sure this is what I did. It was decreased every 3rd stitch to get the thing to be squinched in. And I'm not using the colors for my cuff for this because I want it to be seamless when I switch off the colors. So when I'm doing the cuff, I want it to go into the actual stitches itself instead of decreasing this row of granny stitches right here. So again, I'm just going to do 1, 2, and then just so y'all can see, 1, 2, we're going to decrease here. So we're going to go into this one, pull it up, 2 loops, go to this next space, pull up, and you have 3 loops. You're going to pull through all 3. And as you guys can see, it's starting to like go inward. So I'm going to just continue to do that until we get to the end. And I'm going to show you all how I did the cuffs for the sleeves. Okay, so this is how it's looking. I've already attached my other color off camera. This is still pretty wide for a cuff. So I feel like just looking at it, I want to decrease at least like 8 more spaces or stitches. So I'll probably do like every 4th, or yeah, every 4th stitch. So we did 1 there. Again, we're doing single crochets for the decreases. 2, 3, then 4, and I'm honestly gonna probably just eyeball this and just kind of play around with it and see. 1, 2. This is why it's important to, again, make sure, I almost started my half double crochet, to make sure that you're remembering, like, you know, how many decreases and things you're doing. When I crochet, you guys, you can see this is what freehanding looks like. I don't write down patterns or anything like that. I'm literally just doing this to show you all, you know, how to do decreases, how to do like your cuffs for it. But again, doing this on your own, you want to make sure that you're more structured than I am right now, and write down what you're doing when you're doing it, so you can make sure everything is, you know, seamless and symmetrical. All right, so this is how it is looking. I did go in, I think every 5th stitch was still a little bit too big, so I undid it and did every like 3rd or 4th stitch. I really eyeballed it, honestly, but this is about the size I think you would want for your cuff. I mean, if you want it slightly smaller, then you can just, you know, decrease more, but for me this is pretty good. So now we're going to do the cuffs. It's not gonna be like a traditional like ribbed cuffing. It's just going to be, you know, just cuffs. So I've already chained 1 here, and you're simply just going to go into each stitch and do a half double crochet. Hold on. So you're going to yarn over, go into the space, pull through. You have 3 on your hook, and you're going to pull through all 3, and you're just going to keep doing that all the way around and slip stitch. And you're going to do this for 5 rows until you get to your last row, and I'll come back. All right, so this is how our cuff is looking. We only did, I think I said 5 rows earlier. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but it's going to be 4 rows of half double crochet, and this is how it's looking. I do the half double crochet just because it gives it a neater look, but also it has like stretch to it, you know, for your wrist, and, you know, putting your arms through or your hand through. I've already did my 1 chain, and on this last row we're not going to do half double crochet, we're going to do a single crochet. And that is going to, because the single crochet is like a tighter stitch, so it's going to give it, you know, more structure or firmness, I would say. And it also just gives it a you know, a more uniformed look as well. So you're just going to do single crochets in every stitch until you get to your end of the round. And then of course, once you get to the end of the round, you're just going to slip stitch and cut off your yarn, and that would be our cuffs. Next, we are going to do our ribbing for the bottom of the sweater, which essentially is going to be the same thing as this. We're not going to decrease as much as we did for the, you know, the bottom of the sweater, but we will do probably 5 or so rows of the half double crochet for the ribbing at the bottom. But I'm just going to continue this row, and then I'll come back to you all once we start the ribbing for the bottom of the sweater. All right, so this is how she looks. We got our sleeves here, beautiful, and then right here is the bottom. So we're going to start doing our ribbing for the bottom. I'm going to take it in a little bit for the ribbing, slightly, just to give it like a little squinch look, but let's just get into it. All right, so I already went ahead and got my yarn on here, and you want to make sure when you're doing your ribbing at the bottom that you're going through the actual stitches. So we're not going to be doing like the clusters, we're going into each stitch. And I did already chain 1. So for this first row around, again, I'm also feeding in these tail ends as well. You're just going to do single crochet, and depending on how much you took in your bottom, it will just kind of determine like how many stitches you're going to decrease, if you have to decrease, or if you need to decrease. If you don't, then you would just basically do your ribbing as normal without decreasing. For myself, I am going to be just kind of randomly decreasing a few stitches throughout, because I don't want it to be super like tight around my waist. Obviously I want it to still have room, and I don't want it to be super loose either. So as I'm doing it, I'm doing these single crochets into these stitches. I'm just going to just randomly decrease throughout, because again, I've tried it on without the ribbing and see how it like looks, which it's not super big, but like if I were to not decrease at all, it would be fine. So that's why I'm just going to just do a few decreases throughout as I do the single crochet. So I'm going to just continue this first row. The first row, you're just going to do single crochet. If you need to decrease, then just kind of, figure out how much you want to take it in on your waist. And that will be how you would determine like how many stitches you're going to decrease. For myself, I'm probably going to decrease like probably 10 times all the way around total, and just take it in a little bit. So I will come back once I finish this first row. I finished my first stitch at the bottom. As y'all can see, it's taken in just slightly, so it's more of like a squinch look at the bottom, but it still has stretch to it. What you're going to be doing, it's going to be the same as the cuffs. You're going to be doing half double crochets all the way around for the next, I'm gonna say 5 rows for myself. I mean, you can do however many you want to do, or that you feel it's going to look good for yours, but for myself, I'm going to do 5 rows, and essentially I'm going to finish it off like we did with our cuffs and do a single crochet at the very top for the 6th row. Well, 7th row technically, because the single crochet was 1. So for the next 5 you do half double, so that's 6. So the 7th row will be single crochet. All right, so I'm gonna just keep going, and then I will just show you all once it is completely finished. And then for the top of the sweater, right here where your like neck hole technically is, you're just gonna want to go in to each individual stitch and just do a single crochet. I'm gonna go in just like one time, and that's it, and then she's gonna be done. Okay, so this is how the bottom looks, you guys. I absolutely love it. It's a huge difference compared to like how it was before. You see how it's like inward, but it still has stretch to it. I love it so much. I did only end up doing pretty much the same as the cuffs, so they're pretty much the same. If you look at the width of it, I did 4 rows. I did the single crochet, and then I decrease just randomly 4 rows of half doubles, and then topped it off with the single crochet for the last stitch. So I didn't do 5 of the half double crochets, I just did 4. So I did the exact same thing as we did for our cuffs, and this is how she looks. Okay, so this is how she turned out. I love it so much. I think it's super cute. It's super cute. I really love the color schemes. I love the sleeves and how big they are. I love how it sits right at the waist. I love it so much. I'll do a 360 for you all. Super cute. But thank you guys so much for watching this video and the tutorial. If you have any questions at all, if there was anything that I did or showed that probably didn't make a lot of sense or wasn't as clear, feel free to ask me questions in the comments. I will respond. I'm very proactive in the comment section. But yeah, if you guys do end up making the sweater, I would love to see it. Your posts on social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and tag me below. Happy crocheting, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.